Hi, everybody. Mike Vincent. Welcome back to FEI, Freight Executive Insights. Today, I've got AJ Tucker on on the hook, in the hot seat, if you will, I guess. And he is, well, you're CEO, president, owner of the whole shebang of Tucker Freight Lines, correct?
President. My wife is the CEO.
Oh, okay. I got you.
She can officially fire me.
Okay. Well, let's make sure we don't say anything that'll make that happen. Unless, of course, that's a desire of yours. I don't know. Some guys are,
no.
Okay. All right. I got you. Excellent stuff. So, AJ, tell us real quick, what's Tucker Freight Line? What is your specialty there? How big are you guys? Where you guys service? So people out there can understand.
Sure. We operate about 300 trucks, a little over 300 trucks right now. My wife and I bought the company. It was Art Pape Transfer back in July of 2018. At that time, they had, I think it was 27 seated trucks. So we've grown it considerably. We've done a few small acquisitions over the years, but mostly been organic growth. And our footprint, we're based in Dubuque, Iowa. Our headquarters is in Dubuque, Iowa. We've got a terminal in Milan, Illinois, and down in Burlington, Iowa as well, and then also in New Century, Kansas, Edgerton, Kansas, and we're adding one out in Pittsburgh.
Oh, wow.
We kind of that's kind of our core footprint.
Yeah.
The Midwest and the Great Lakes states, that's the area that we hit hardest. We do have a dry van division, which that's pretty much the only area it services. And then our open deck division, we get out closer to 48 states, but I would say mainly east of the Rocky Mountains, but we do go out west on a weekly basis as well. And that group does a little bit of everything. The open deck group, where they have flatbeds, step decks, RGNs. I think we've got up to 18 axle combo.
Wow.
So we haul some big heavy stuff too. So
Yeah, so you guys are doing everything with that division. You're into construction and heavy haul out of oversize or out of gauge, I guess you can call it, in maritime, all that kind of stuff. What's the division there? Are you mostly geared towards the open deck, or is it a 50-50 split with dry van? Or
it's not. So dry van is about probably 60-65%.
Okay.
And on the trailer side, it's a lot more trailer intensive, but yeah, that's about the breakdown. And we have a few reefers, but those are kind of going away. I was in the reefer business for a long time, and didn't really want to get back into it. So.
Yeah, I got you. Why? So how did you get into trucking? As you know, for a career, was it a family thing, or did you just flunk out
No,
of college like most of us?
I didn't want to do the college thing out of school, out of high school. School always came real easy to me, and I felt bored with it. So I wanted to. I had friends that were in the logging industry, and I just always enjoyed it. Heavy machinery and moving logs around and things like that. So I got into that business and did that for about 3 years, and then wanted to go out and figure out trucking on my own, and bought a truck and a trailer with my dad. My dad didn't know anything about trucking. He was a business guy, but he was kind of my business coach. And but yeah, we got into it that way, and grew that business, did a little bit of everything, and did it hands on myself. We did hopper work, flatbed work, dry van. Ended up did a lot of gas, hauled a lot of gas
Oh,
and
wow.
propane and hazardous stuff. So, but ended up getting into refrigerated and grew that. That was we got rid of everything else and did all refrigerated and grew that up to about 60 trucks, 100 trailers, and um, we never really planned on growing past like 5 trucks.
Yeah.
So it became, it was a lot more than what we had anticipated. And my dad, he turned into more of a full time job than he wanted, and he just wanted to chill with the grandkids. So he said, hey, I'm ready to dial it down. Either buy me out or let's sell. And we ended up selling the business in early 2007
Oh,
to
wow.
a competitor, and worked out really well. I stayed on with them. Took their fleet up to about 400 trucks with the acquisition of our company, and then I stayed on with them and got into ownership later down the road and grew that business from about 400 trucks up to about 1,000 trucks when I left there in 2016. So
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. And then you jump back into it in 2018. What was that like going, 2018 and then, through obviously the years after that, 20, 21, 22, 23, when things just went haywire?
yeah, so I mean, 18 was, I think, the tail end of a strong market.
Yeah.
19 was pretty brutal. Um, and 20, it was we had a plan going into 20, and yeah, COVID, you know, messed with it a little bit, but we kind of stuck to the plan, and a lot of the dealers that we buy equipment from, they said, during April and May of 20, June of 20, you guys were like the only fleet that was still taking your equipment. So we stuck with it, and it ended up paying off for us, just simply because we got all the equipment that we had ordered, where a lot of others who were canceling orders, they never got them back. So we grew through that time, and then in I think it was April of 21, we did our first real small acquisition. Did another one in December of 21, and then another small one in March of 22, and that was the last one we did. But just
Yeah.
kind of steady growth all along. Here lately, we we haven't grown much over the last 6 months,
Right.
um, but we've got a little bit right now. We've gotten into the trailer spotting and yard management business about a year ago, so that's been a growing part of our operations as well. So
Oh, wow. So you bought some yard hostlers, some, okay,
yeah,
cool.
we have it's branded as sustainable yard management. We started off with all battery electric spotter trucks, and now we've gotten into some efficient diesel operations, but the goal is to convert all of them over to battery electric.
All the yard hustlers. Yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, you've got this mix now, and I can see, the yard management and trailer spotting, that type of thing occurred like post COVID and really into the downturn of COVID. Was the strategy of just slower, sustainable growth, sticking to the plan, and a bit of diversity. Do you think that's kind of what is keeping you guys on the right track through this difficult time post COVID, as everything kind of corrects, or this pendulum kind of swings a little bit further to the dark side than we wanted in trucking? I mean,
Yeah.
you see a lot of closures and people hurting and that type of stuff. And you've got slow growth, but you've got some diversification.
Yeah, we're very diversified, and the spotting and yard management, I did it in my past life, so it was something that, we had been working on for quite some time. But it's taken off pretty well here, and yeah, so I think, the diversification. I mean, there's no doubt we've felt some pressure, but at the same time, we've brought on some pretty heavy hitters from a shipper standpoint. So we're pretty jazzed with what we have going on here right now. So I think a lot of, the market and a lot of the challenges are because everyone in 21 and 22, I mean, if you couldn't make money in trucking, like, you were an idiot. So, I mean, seriously, the guys that got into the business, getting out over their ski tips and, buying 250, $300,000 tractors and
Yeah.
$100,000 van trailers, and like, it doesn't make sense. Like, that's not going to work long term. Uh,
Irresponsible growth, right?
yeah, and the people that financed it, I think, are the ones at fault here, really. So,
That's true.
and a lot of them didn't. They haven't called the debt. I think they're starting to now, but they didn't want to. They knew they made bad decisions, and to take with what the market's done. I mean, the value of the used equipment has plummeted, and they don't want to take the black eye on their books, so they just keep it out there. And they're I've talked to a lot of trucking lenders, and they kind of, some of them pound their chest on not having, having a low percent of repos, but then out of the other side of their mouth, they say, well, we like to work with the folks we lend money to, and we allow them to make interest only payments. And I say, oh yeah, thanks a lot for that, because now those people who are never going to pay for that asset, they just look at it as they're renting it. They view
Yep.
it as, okay, now my rent now went down from $4,000 or $5,000 a month to $700 or $800 a month, because I only have to pay interest only. So
Yeah.
uh, so anyway, and it just allows them to haul freight cheaper, and die the slow death. So
Yeah. Well, it extends the floor of this trough too, doesn't it? I mean,
yes,
that's a
100
major impact.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. Because I mean, I've had this discussion before, and people say, there's too much, there's too much capacity, or there's too little capacity in the market. I think that's a bogus argument. There's something else. It's not that there's too much. What is the cause of that too much uh, capacity in the market, and what is allowing it to linger so long to drive down the rates? And it's the most desperate out there have more of ability to hang on because of what you're talking about. The banks don't want to own used equipment that's just going to sit
No,
around on their books.
no,
Yeah.
no. And some of the big lenders out there, I've heard some numbers. I'm not going to mention any names, but
Yeah.
I've heard some numbers that they're taking an average hit of $62,000 per truck repoed. So
Oof. Yeah. See, that's a lot when you can just extend it for a while and hope for a better market, and maybe repo it when those numbers go up. The demand, there can't be much demand for used, equipment, obviously. Otherwise, the numbers wouldn't be in the toilet like you indicated before, as far as the value of those used units, 2 and 3 year old. Some of those are pretty cheap, or pretty new units. They're not very old at all.
yeah, I mean, I saw something hit my inbox today with 2020 units with 115,000 miles on them. So
Wow.
they're 5 years old, barely used.
Yeah. Wow. It's
So
like new.
yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. So let me ask you this too, real quick. Is in your? It's interesting to me the yard management, right, and the trailer spotting business that you're talking about, because it brings me straight back to my days in running container freight stations, but also back to LTL and running the yards in the big terminals, et cetera. But in the vein of electric, it makes sense because you can easily charge there. You don't have range anxiety, and it makes it cleaner. But how do you see, or do you see the autonomous technology playing out in that space? I've always contended that it seems like the no-brainer space to start using autonomous because really can control the environment pretty well, right? So it seems to me like it would be a really good space to utilize that type of technology and set it up with AI for door moves and efficient moves, et cetera.
Yeah, we've looked at some of that, and I think in the right yards, it could be a great play. I mean, just to your point on battery electric in the world of yard hostlers, I mean, it makes a lot of sense there. We have quick chargers; they can run 24 hours a day
Right,
on 2 hours of charging. So it's all, you take your opportunistic charging, your shift changes, your breaks, and things like that, and you never have to worry about downtime.
right.
But also, the yards that have they have to they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be pretty close to perfect in order to utilize the autonomous vehicles, I think, just from a controlled access point.
What do you mean
And,
perfect? What does perfect mean in your mind?
well, just total secure yards that have, every
Yeah,
trailer is going to need a puck on it. It looks like the technology is coming along with the airline hookups and things like that,
yeah,
but it's also still not perfect. And then if the building isn't, if the warehouse or wherever you're loading or unloading at isn't configured with the dock doors that allow you to open the trailer doors to the inside, you need to have a person there opening the doors anyway before it backs into the
yeah.
door.
It's one of the things I've always asked. But who's gonna swing those doors shut? That's always been my
That's
question. But
that's what it
somebody's got
is.
to still do that, right?
It is. So unless, and there's, I think most new buildings are being built with the dock doors that way, where you can open them to the inside. But I've seen some that were put up last year that weren't even built with that. So,
Yeah,
uh, unless the buildings are retrofitted that way, you're still going to have the labor. And maybe the labor is a lower cost per hour, but you still have labor. So unless you have a facility where that's, like I said, near perfect, um, I don't think we're quite there yet.
yeah.
But I do think in those facilities, I think it's awesome, and I think it's the right. Um, it's a good way to dip our toe in that market.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The interface between the yard and the over the road or line haul driver is a critical junction point in that as well, right? You can't have a human driver that's unpredictable entering certain areas there, or it can cause some havoc, I would imagine, right? And most of your efficiencies in there are just knowing where all the trailers are, right? And what they are. It's the intelligence of how the yard is laid out in the rectilinear motion versus linear motion, all that sort of thing is really where you're getting the efficiencies, anyways, right?
yep, yep, yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent stuff. So, what's your look forward, AJ? Do you care to prognosticate on one final question here? Is a prognostication on how long this is going to take us to get out of this trough, or do you see anything good? Or
I mean, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of green shoots here,
yeah,
but there's still a lot of pricing pressure. I think it's we're gonna come out of it. I've been in the industry 29 years now. Um, I know you're surprised I look very young for that, but
Yes, I was going to say, I don't think you're old enough to have a CDL, are you?
yeah, right on. I still do have a CDL, by the way. So,
Nice.
but I mean, I've been in it long enough where it ebbs and flows, and you go through these cycles. I think we'll see, industry wide some green shoots the second half of the year. But there's still a lot of, I mean, we're in an election year, so there's nothing that's going to go gangbusters, I don't think,
Yeah.
this year. But I think it's all about, we're in a time right now where, it's a really good time to examine your business and, make sure you're doing things as efficiently as you possibly can. And maybe instead of making more dollars, you save more dollars. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I think next year will look a lot better. I know it's a ways away yet, but
Yeah. Fantastic. Any shippers watching this, where do they go to get in touch with you guys? Is it tuckerfreightlines.com or?
Tucker Freight Lines, tuckerfreight.com. You bet. That's where to go. And there's, I think, info@tuckerfreight.com. We'll get you connected. I mean, heck, if you want my email address, it's aj.tucker@tuckerfreight.com. So
Yeah, you're pretty accessible. I can attest to
I
that, and
am.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate your time today. It was excellent, AJ. I wish the best for you and your family and your company in the future.
Thank you. Likewise, and have a good jam session here.
I will do it. I assure you, my friend. You
Yeah.
play?
I used to play guitar. I used to play bass. I used to play drums. Currently, I don't play anything. If I'm going to pick
Okay.
anything back up, the easiest thing I could pick up would be the drums. But
Okay. Well, you need to pick up the drums, and we'll get you. Me and John Brewer get you recording with our trucker tunes.
oh man,
We'll get some stuff going because
awesome!
otherwise I have to do it on my computer and it takes me forever to
Oh,
do
there you go. There you go. There you go.
it's a big
Cool, cool.
bottleneck in our production, my friend. We
Yeah,
can we can increase our output quite a bit and
sell
the
some
quality, I'm
albums,
sure.
right? Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
we'll
yeah.
do we'll do a rock opera about trucking.
There you go.
Sounds good. Hey, thank you so much, AJ, and
Thank
truly,
you.
I hope the best. I hope the best for you, everybody. This has been FEI. Thanks for tuning in. We'll have another episode out very, very quickly. Peace and love, everybody.